Story 1, this is Fireteam Delta. Dad's coming home.
Welcome to the Military Veteran Dad Podcast, where it is our mission to bring every dad home. I am your host, Ben Killoy. I'm a United States Marine veteran, husband, and a father. We will bring authentic conversations to inspire action in your life so we can close the gap between the dad you are today and the dad you want to be tomorrow. This is the Military Veteran Dad Podcast. Welcome to the very first episode of the Military Veteran Dad Podcast. I have a simple mission for the show: to bring every dad home. So many dads have come home, but never really become present. Some never made it back, and in some cases, end up taking their own life. Life of being a dad today is one of quiet desperation, reinforced by our military training to stay tough, keep the emotions on lockdown, and complete the mission. A statistic that is often repeated in the veteran community is that 22 veterans kill themselves every day in the United States. Our focus will be on the military veteran dad, to end the chain of broken families and kids who did not get to grow up with a dad in their life. While this is not a podcast only about suicide awareness, it is a podcast about providing hope that a better and stronger tomorrow is possible. Each episode, we will share inspiring stories of everyday dads who are still working to come home, but have learned some lessons along the way and want to share their wisdom with you today. We'll bring bonus episodes to the show from Gold Star family members and the impact it had on their life. Every life is worth living. We sometimes just need to be reminded along the way. My hope is that these stories will begin to move the needle between the dad you are today and the dad you want to be tomorrow. Before we get started with the first episode, I thought it would be important for you to get to know me, and I wanted to share my story. My name is Ben Killoy, and I'm an author, blogger, speaker, and now a podcaster as of today. It was September 2002 when I raised my right hand for the Marine Corps. But my story doesn't start there. It began a few months before when I was ready to join the Air Force. We had already met with the recruiter, and I was ready to go. That summer, the local Marine recruiter had a bouncy house at our church picnic. My mom went over to first because she wanted to make sure I was exploring all my options. I had already crossed the Marines off as I thought they were only infantry, and I knew that wasn't me. I quickly found out that is not, and following Tuesday, I had a meeting with him in the guidance counselor's office, and 2 weeks later, I was rated my right hand for the Marine Corps. Little did I know at the time, he was the #1 recruiter in Wisconsin 3 years in a row. I share this moment because it was the first breadcrumb to the life that has led me here today. It was an uncommon reason for how I ended up in the Marine Corps, but it was this 90-degree pivot that I attribute so much of my life today. During my time serving, I had the privilege to call Okinawa, Japan home for 3 years. I got to see places like the DMZ in South Korea, the Philippines, and Australia. I left in August of 2007 with the simple belief that I was meant for bigger things in life, and the Marine Corps was going to hold me back. But what no one told me was that life after serving was going to be the next hardest battle we faced as veterans. Maybe they did, and that was just the part I was too tired to remember. I remember 1 year after transition from the Marine Corps reflecting on my choices. When I first got out and thought, I had no idea what I was doing a lot of should have done this or should have done that in my head. Made me spiral down even further into regret and forgetting the future I still had in front of me. I was constantly living in the past. I now consider myself a recovering should-aholic, as I realized I was shoulding all over myself and others. Unfortunately, I continued down this path I was on without making any changes in my life for the next 3 years. It wasn't until it all fell apart and I dropped out of the College of Engineering. If this wasn't enough, it turns out I was still digging my way to rock bottom. I proceeded for the next 6 months asking myself the question, what do I do now? And it went unanswered for weeks. My first child turned 1 during this time frame, and it was hard looking at her, knowing what kind of father I was going to be to her. It wasn't until I went to a seminar to become the supervisor where some sparks started to come back. I realized I had a passion for leadership. It was always there, but went dormant after leaving the Marine Corps. I realized at this moment that a mastery of leadership was my target. Everything I had loved doing in my life up to this point was a summary of being a great leader. I wanted to lead teams and individuals to take more significant action and achievement. What came out of this was a burning desire to lead and consume as much information as I could on the subject. What transpired was an overload of information, but not a whole lot of action, just paralysis. This desire took me down another path. This isn't working, now what? Sound familiar? I started to doubt myself that I had even made the right choice with leadership. Maybe I needed to just stick with what I was doing was okay at doing. I remember thinking maybe this is all just garbage and others convince you of, but that life is meant to be that 8 to 5 job that just pays the bills. It wasn't until I added one last ingredient into the mix that clarity began to emerge. People. Sounds stupid, but the fundamental interactions with like-minded people pursuing the same path helped me niche down further in my purpose and desire and begin to cultivate the action that I had been missing for so long, but was desperately needing. 11 years after the Marine Corps, I am making the connections I needed, making the choices to deliver the results I hadn't seen, and I'm still working through, but without struggle, we cannot have growth. Today, I work with military veterans' dads through podcasting and coaching on how to come back home and be dads and husbands our family needs. I want to leave you with one parting thought. What if the things in life today are not getting the results you desire? If you want something you have never had, then you need to do something you have never done. Now on with the show, and let's get this mission started.